Out of all of the Emperor's fallen angels of death, no story is more tragic than that of the Noise Marines. At first glance, these Slaanesh-worshipping traitors appear to bask in the eternal ecstasy created by the Prince of Pleasure. They parade through the battlefield, relishing in the pain and suffering they cause their enemies, as their target's flesh is flayed off their bodies through the deafening sounds of their ubiquitous sonic weaponry. Those who possess the simplest understanding of these Chaos Space Marines are swept up by how much joy these demigods seem to experience. How could a being so free and blissful ever feel even an ounce of pain or misery? Even when wounded, a Noise Marine bursts out with delight as the gash in his armor somehow appears to be placed there on purpose by some overarching power. The sheer elegance of these warriors that maneuver through the battlefield of death and destruction with effortless relaxation is enough to tempt even the most stoic Space Marines towards the worship of the Chaos Gods. But what most soldiers fail to realize is the depravity, addiction, and enslavement behind a Noise Marine. These are the horrible realities of a Chaos Space Marine dedicated to Slaanesh. While the following is true about most Chaos Space Marines, it resonates deeper for the Noise Marine. At the heart of betraying the Emperor of mankind and the selfish pursuit of the powers of chaos is a self-doubt that all Noise Marines will never be able to run away from. Even after receiving the blessings that are the gene seed organs of an Astarte warrior and crossing the Rubicon Primaris, in the mind of a traitor, these boons are never enough. An unquenched desire scrapes at the soul of a Space Marine that is persuaded by the calling of Slaanesh, and the source of this dissatisfaction varies from Noise Marine to Noise Marine, but it always leads to the worst possible heresy an Astarte can ever commit: apostasy. Some Noise Marines feel a deep sense of inadequacy, as if being picked by their chapter's chaplain was a mistake, and the glory and honor of their proud chapter weighs down on the shoulders of a battle brother that cannot reach the achievements of their predecessors, let alone the expectations of a Primarch and the Emperor of mankind. For these future worshippers of Slaanesh, the Dark Prince represents an escape from this self-deprecation. Unfortunately, this intense self-criticism will eventually return after the mind becomes accustomed to the joy the Prince of Pleasure can provide. For other Noise Marines, the dissatisfaction comes from feeling like their new godlike lives are bound by the chore that is the protection of mankind. The strict regime each Space Marine must follow in order to guarantee that they can enforce the Emperor's will throughout the galaxy is in fact narrowing the mind, body, and spirit of the Astarte. They are dissatisfied with how little of the world they are able to experience due to the oppressive nature of not only the Imperium of Man, but the traditions laid out by the Primarchs. A Space Marine can easily use his charisma to enhance the life of himself and others. He could be using his heightened senses to create art, music, and literature that a simple human mind could never create. And yet they are forbidden and are expected to live lives like primitive intelligent beings, expected to train and drill every single day as if they didn't possess the superhuman powers of an Adeptus Astarte warrior. Whether this dissatisfaction is rooted in themselves, or they blame the backward culture of the Corpse Emperor, this intense flaw in the mind of a Space Marine is a calling card for the Prince of Pleasure, who offers affirmation through his worship. A Noise Marine is convinced that these beliefs are true, and only by breaking away from the Imperium of Man and allowing himself to experience the world through the guidance of Slaanesh would a Space Marine fully satisfy the empty desire in his heart. Unfortunately, when a Space Marine finally succumbs to temptation, the release is only temporary. Yes, a new worshipper of Slaanesh experiences a sense of fulfillment like never before, as his every sensations are enhanced and the wonders of the world are experienced in a brand new light. But this bliss a traitor feels is gone as quickly as it arrives. In an unaging body, what once felt like an eternity is reduced to a few moments in time, and all the Chaos Space Marine has to show for this first hit is a body corrupted and mutated in accordance to the will of his new master. This begins a spiral into addiction that every single worshipper of Slaanesh must deal with. Just as before, the emptiness inside wraps itself around the Noise Marine, and only more extreme sensations can give him the same rush of fulfillment as before. Eventually, moral degeneration sets in, as the Space Marine, corrupted by the Prince of Chaos, engages in only the most extreme behaviors, such as sadistic murder or highly degrading sexual practices, in order to feel the same enhanced pleasure offered by Slaanesh. Each gift becomes a curse, as his actions become eclipsed by the desire of the satisfaction. It doesn't matter if the Noise Marine is perfecting his warrior craft anymore. All he desires is to feel the same burst of joy, even if it means betraying quality over quantity. Where once killing a challenging enemy felt amazing, now entire worlds must be brutally slaughtered in order to get the same amount of pleasure. At this point, compulsion takes over. The pleasure associated with waging war subsides, and yet the memory of ecstasy and the need to recreate it persists. It's as if the superhuman motivation of the demigod no longer functions. Every depraved act becomes robotic for a noise marine. Even though they appear overjoyed in the atrocities they commit, the action loses meaning. The once superb mind of a Chaos Lord is diluted. Tactics become secondary to the amount of pain they can actually cause. And this is what Slaanesh wants from her noise marines. She traps them in a web of euphoria that prevents them from realizing how dependent they've become. By the time they realize the true extent of their servitude to the Prince of Pleasure, a Chaos Space Marine can never escape. Their souls belong to her now, and in order to satisfy their desires, they must do her bidding. Ironically, the Noise Marine ends up in the same position he was trying to escape, becoming a slave, bound to the chore that is the servitude of Slaanesh. The same self-doubt that plagued the Space Marine also returns, but now the traitor questions if what he is doing is satisfying the cravings of Slaanesh. Envy quickly sets in, and each Noise Marine looks at their brethren not as warriors with a common cause, but as roadblocks potentially stealing Slaanesh's gifts. And those are the horrible realities of becoming a Noise Marine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, share it with your friends. And if you guys have any suggestions, or if you guys have anything that I should have added to this video, please let me know in the comment section below. Now, one thing that I found very interesting, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, is while I was writing the script and getting the information from what I've previously read, not just about Noise Marines, but about Slaanesh, I found it interesting that it's difficult to talk about Slaanesh and keeping it PG. Even when you're not looking at the over-sexualized aspect of Slaanesh, you're still talking about things that society is not comfortable with. Addiction, manipulation, things like that. It just seems that not just Games Workshop, but just society in general is not okay with just openly talking about that. Whereas when you deal with a chaos god like Khorne, we're okay with violence. Most games are pretty violent. We're okay with Tzeentch. Tzeentch is all about plots, manipulation, all that kind of stuff. We know that corruption exists within our worlds. Our politicians lie to us every single day. Same thing with Nurgle. Nurgle is inevitable. It just exists, especially nowadays with the whole coronavirus and the quarantine. Like, it's very real. But when you talk about Slaanesh, when you talk about sexuality, when you talk about the addiction and all that kind of stuff, especially the substance abuse and all that kind of stuff, it gets difficult. And I understand that. I wonder what Games Workshop is going to do, or I wonder if society is going to change in a way where it's going to be okay for us to have those types of conversations and just be okay with it existing like we are with violence. We'll see what happens in the future. But again, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Even if I don't respond to you guys, I still read a lot of the comments, especially when you guys comment like big paragraphs. I'll read those, I just don't always have time to respond. Now, if you are interested in learning about Noise Marines, like specific details, not just like the theoretical or the ideology behind being a Noise Marine or a worshiper of Slaanesh, please check out our 40 facts on the Noise Marines. It's actually a pretty recent video. We completed it at the end of last year, so it's pretty good. Also, if you are interested in this whole ideology of like what the Chaos Gods represent, you should check out our 40 facts, you should check out our horrible realities on each one of the Chaos Space Marines. We've actually done each one of them now. My favorite one is definitely Khorne, but it is one of the older videos. We also have horrible realities on the Chaos Space Marines just in general. That one's also a really good one. I'll link those in the description below or up at top, or just check out our archives. Look up horrible realities and you'll see that I've posted a couple videos on that kind of stuff. If you guys have suggestions for any other topics about Warhammer 40k, let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me, and can't wait to read what you guys have to say. With that said, this was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.
Oh, I did the